You're listening to In the Corner with BenNy Mac.
Acknowledge me.
Unfiltered.
Or was it one guy in an office who chose you who's not here anymore and we don't talk about it?
Uncensored.
I am the greatest Royal Rumble winner!
Shut up, bitch!
And unforgiving.
The only reason you were WWE champion for a year is because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesday.
Here's the man in the corner, BenNy Mac.
Hello, welcome to In the Corner with BenNy Mac and Tyler. We get my arrow the right way. There we go. Well, we got quite a bit to chat about this week. Raw, SmackDown, Mass Man. It's actually a crate. I know it's a crate before I say it, but what's in the box as well? Tyler, how you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. Anytime I get to be on In the Corner with the great BenNy Mac is always a treat. So I cannot wait to discuss our perspectives concerning both Raw and SmackDown, everything WWE this week.
Well, Elimination Chamber is very much fast approaching. Obviously, the big wrestling Christmas is looming on the horizon of WrestleMania. So, but yeah, we've got a long way to go. And yeah, we're going to start with SmackDown. But very quickly, obviously, follow at In the Corner WWE on X, YouTube, and search us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. In the Corner with BenNy Mac, featuring Tyler, really, you know, this is just the way it's named, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it was, I'm not going to say it's been like the best week ever for WWE, but there's some interesting moments and stories being pushed forward, obviously, because we're getting to Chamber and Chicago's coming in, and Chicago's going to be, if that crowd holds up to any previous crowd, is going to be absolutely freaking amazing. Let's face it. It's going to be a great crowd, hopefully.
Yeah, they'll be excited. I mean, Chicago is always a great sports town overall, and especially regarding wrestling and CM Punk going to be in the main event. I'm assuming that's probably going to be in the main event spot, but regardless, it's a marquee matchup between Finn Balor and CM Punk. So you're right, BenNy. Chicago is going to be on fire. It ought to be another memorable Elimination Chamber event.
I mean, I'm from the UK, so. But like I've been to see WWE over here when they've been over in the past. The last time, unfortunately, was like 2009. So it's been a long time since I've been to a live event. And looking at ticket prices, probably not anytime soon.
I'm not either. That's out of my price range.
You went to SummerSlam a few years ago, didn't you? Was it 20?
No, I did.
Or 23?
It was 22. That was back when Brock and Roman did the. I think last man standing.
So you were there
Brock
for
was on the tractor. Yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
We saw Cowboy cool. Brock come out with the tractor. Quite a moment.
Very cool. But yeah, it's just I'd love to go, but it's very expensive. I'll leave it at that. But maybe they do some live events, and I could probably go to those. I did one of those years ago as well. That was a good night. But yeah, it's going back to being from the UK, like when you see they're going to be in like St. Louis, Chicago, New York, Canada, Montreal, you know, I mean, those are just a few off the top of my head, but you know, 9 times out of 10, those crowds are just absolutely buzzing to see WWE and wrestling. So Chicago, and obviously CM Punk, as you've already mentioned, CM Punk defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor in his hometown, and now, well, it looks like AJ Lee as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But before I get too ahead of myself, which normally happens on this show, Trick Williams on SmackDown this past week, Trick Williams and Rey Fenix, for me, I don't know about you, quite possibly the match of the night. And that trick shot at the end was just reminiscent of Triple H and his high knees that he used to do back in the day. But I mean, for me, match of the night, what do you think?
I think it's up there. I mean, Trick Williams just continues to impress. He's just a natural athlete, obviously, with his football background. And Rey Fenix with the lucha style, he's innovative. I just loved what they were doing. It was very exciting. They could go technical, but most of the time it was a lot of speed. It was a lot of just high-octane action, if I can borrow from that terminology. And I'm with you, BenNy. It was overall just a very fun match to watch. So I come back just agreeing with you. This was tremendous from both
It's
Williams and Phoenix here.
it whooped that trick chance, obviously, coming out as per usual. Ray Phoenix is just like, I know they've kept Phoenix and Penta away from each other in terms of Penta being on Raw and obviously Phoenix on SmackDown, but like these two guys are freaking amazing. But Ray Phoenix doing that run on the top, along the top rope to hit those kicks, it's just every time I'm like don't fall, please don't fall, because I don't want them to hurt themselves. But it's absolutely, it's just if you haven't seen it for some reason, ladies and gents, go back to SmackDown and watch Trick Williams versus Ray Phoenix. Trick Williams does get the win, which I felt watching the match and the way things have been going. As much as I like Ray Phoenix, Trick Williams has got the momentum, so it makes perfect sense for him to be going over Phoenix.
No, it does, because the fans get excited. There's a brand new energy when Trick Williams comes out. I mean, they love his theme music. It's the catchphrase, "Whoop that trick," is just all over the place, and we'll get into it. I was gonna say, if you watch Raw, if you're tuning in to this program, you'll notice how over Trick Williams truly is, because they were saying "Whoop that trick," and he's not even on that show.
He's not,
speaking of Monday Night Raw,
yes,
so
yes.
that ought to show you that this guy is becoming very popular for the masses who watch wrestling, sports entertainment, etc. So I'm thrilled for Trick Williams. I also, Ray Phoenix, I'm with you. I get nervous because I'm not coordinated anyways, but this guy definitely is. He's athletic. That lucha style, you take a lot of high risk. So I'm with you, BenNy. I'm always worried. Please don't fall, break a leg, get injured severely. We don't want that. But it's just truly amazing, the techniques that this man uses to execute these moves and tell a story. I'm very fascinated by Ray Phoenix and Penta. I like how they've separated the two, because sometimes you can, just because they were in another company party, you don't want to put them together immediately. I think it's good for them to see what they can do by themselves.
If you had it all just on one show, you've already got some high flyers on Raw, and you need some on SmackDown. So you need to spread the wealth, essentially, is what I'm going to say there. But I just can't help think of Trick Williams now without hearing you say lemon pepper steppers, by the way, which is what we had last week.
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, the lemon pepper steppers, and the way he says it, because I kind of struggle there, because Trick Williams has just that tone. And it's hip.
It rolls off his tongue, doesn't it? It rolls off his tongue.
Yeah, it does. Where obviously it didn't roll off mine. It's good, but at least I got there. So that was funny. That's why I'm not him, obviously. But it's it's entertaining. The guy's just got charisma. He's got some of those key attributes that wrestlers need. It's necessary, and you can see why through NXT and then this call up on the main roster, this guy's going to thrive. They're definitely behind him too. So it helps when creative and you've got this machine behind you. There's going to be nothing but some great things ahead for Mr. Williams. Yeah. With those lemon pepper steppers, almost like Dusty Rhodes in a way. Dusty had some soul for a white guy. There you go.
Very good, very good. But yeah, no, match of the night for me, was that match. It was from it's one of those few. I mean, you watched the entire program, obviously, but like this is the one that I was like, as it was just moving along, I just couldn't. I found myself not taking my eyes off this match at all, and then just like not out of nowhere, but almost seemed like out of nowhere, that trick shot that he hit was absolutely insane. And we will talk about Raw, but you can't. It's hard not to see the parallel between Javon Adams and Trick Williams at the moment in terms of what Javon Adams with that cutter last week, insane. But the way these two are just rising through the ranks on their respective shows, and they've both. I think Javon was slightly just before Trick, but it's been. I can't help see the parallel, and the crowds are getting behind him. I think Trick's probably got it. If I was going to give a percentage on it, I would say Javon's probably about 93%, and I'm going to say Trick is probably like 96%, in terms of the crowd popularity. But they are both, this next year is going to be, fingers crossed, going to be brilliant for both of those gentlemen, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't say enough complimentary things about both those gentlemen. You said it, BenNy. Javon Evans is thrilling to watch. The way he can do the cutter. Just a lot of the acrobatic stuff from the top ropes, because it's logical. It's not that he's just doing it to do it. There's some purpose behind it, reasoning, in other words. And I just, I'm just very entertained by Trick Williams and Javon Evans. So I cannot wait to see more from these guys. And evidently we are seeing more. So I'm contradicting myself because we really are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so we gotta mention it. Alexa Bliss is moving in to the chamber, in the women's chamber. To whoever wins that will go against whoever Liv Morgan doesn't choose. And I will say I've been leaning more towards Stephanie Vaquer with Liv, but I don't really know. But based on, again, we'll get into Raw in a little bit, but based on what happened on Raw, it seems like Stephanie Vaquer for Liv. But it's anyone's guess really on who. I say anyone's guess. To me, it makes sense that it would be Stephanie, but I could be completely wrong on that. But
I hope it is Stephanie. And I know we'll discuss it further, but I'm kind of leaning towards Stephanie, especially after this segment on Raw. It got me invested.
Well, we can talk about it now. Actually, I know we're going to get to Raw anyway. We've only got a couple more things from SmackDown, but it all at the moment, because we're heading towards Chamber, especially qualifier matches. It all links in with moving towards the Chamber, doesn't it? So it's hard not to.
Yeah, they're all intertwined.
Yes, it's hard. It's hard not to talk about it, I guess. But yeah, so in theory, let's assume that Liv is going to go against Stephanie Vaquer after what happened on this past week's Raw, and I obviously I don't speak Spanish. Some words I know, but most I don't. To be fair, I barely can speak English sometimes. So it's just like it was. I found something there. Somebody put together a translation of it and all that, but I liked the way they did it. But you also had Dominic Mysterio translating for Liv. And so even though if you didn't necessarily pick up on everything that Stephanie was saying, it upset Liv. And I haven't got it in front of me, but the overall sort of message of it was, you must be embarrassed that it's taken you 10 years to get to this point, whereas I've been wrestling all across the world and I've been here less time than you, and I'm already women's world champion, which is ultimately, obviously Liv's come through the system. She was in NXT, and she's come all the way up, and she's worked for it. Of course, like every wrestler works for it in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes it takes 2 years, sometimes it takes 15 years, but ultimately everybody works for it. But for Liv to be upset from it, I can't see why it wouldn't be Liv and Stephanie.
Well, you said it. Liv was emotionally shaken by what Stephanie was saying in Spanish. I do concur. Dominic being able to translate the language. Speaking of the Spanish dialect, it's very interesting anytime WWE or any other company allows these wrestlers to speak Spanish due to the countries they are from. And that adds a fascinating dynamic to this whole interview segment with Michael Cole. And Michael Cole's always tremendous with these anyways. But Dominic relaying the information to Liv, and Liv showing the emotion, sniffling at first, then crying. The only problem I had is I would rather Liv Morgan be a little stronger. I get you want to show emotion, but show emotion like if Stephanie's going to be telling me all of the things that I'm not, or that I didn't earn it and deserve it, you could have a response like, well, yeah, but I've been here. I've done that already. You could go at her as far as like, hey, I'm not always, you were pushed fast. I had to, she can make a counter argument really with Stephanie, but I did like Stephanie dressing her down. There were certain parts about it that were enjoyable, but that is one of the details that I even wrote down in my notes as far as Liv Morgan. I get she's kind of got to pander a little bit, but it's like, come on, after she cried, maybe come back on her to end the segment. But I realize everything's got to build too, so that's probably rushing a bit. So that's why I'm not booking, obviously. But I still thought the segment was had me interested. I mean, because I was trying to listen to what the Spanish, they transcribed it, but I still had a hard time really piecing everything together that Stephanie Vaquer was saying to Liv, and Dominic telling Michael Cole, not now, Michael. That was a nice touch because that's natural. Hey, she don't want to hear it right now. You may respect the guy that's interviewing you, like a Michael Cole, but Dom's telling him, listen, she's been through a lot right now. After we can't do it. So he interjected. So I thought the segment though overall was pretty good. That's just the one thing that if I'm going to be a little critical about, I'm going to go there because I just felt like Liv, as arrogant as she's been, but maybe the dressing down, maybe that's their logic, their way of thinking. If Stephanie dresses her down, we can still build to a WrestleMania possibly. And we said it to earlier on in the program. Pardon me. I think Stephanie and Liv. I think you've made it pretty personal now. Could they do something with Jade on SmackDown? Sure, but I'm leaning more to wanting to see, Liv and the Care after this segment.
Yeah, and I was just about to ask the question that when we watch these things, wrestling and stuff, anything, especially wrestling, we want it to make sense or stitch things together and make it all, we talk about on this show quite a lot about things being intertwined from different shows, and obviously at the moment building to Chamber, but to have, like you said a minute ago, having Liv upset, so that makes me think that we are going to see Stephanie, because now I'm a bit more invested in wanting to see Liv versus Stephanie. But also the fact that Liv did cry, and not in like a hysterical way, not in a she's being mean to me way, just taking it in and just like trying to bear the brunt of Stephanie's, artillery,
the insults,
words, the insults and stuff. I'm just, it's only because we were talking about it, and I'm thinking, do we see maybe Liv gets favor from this? Maybe we see a flip here. I don't know whether, but then Judgment Day, I don't really know. Yeah. We seem to be getting with Finn very quickly, because it was mentioned in Judgment Day. Seems very much possibly he's still using the old school Balor music. I noticed when he came out on Raw, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So I don't know, but if nothing else, which you've already touched upon, it's made yourself and me a bit more interested in wanting to see. And there's still a bit more time to go. We've still got Chamber, and we've still got at least 3 to 4 Raws to get to WrestleMania. So we've got enough time for this to. Now, does Liv come back next week and be like? Again, there's 2 ways I could go. She could go full on like doesn't talk now and is like within herself, and then she comes out all guns blazing. But I don't know, because she's meant to be the heel, isn't she? So. But that's the way it came across. The way it came across, you could almost say that, are we going to see a flip here? Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. But from we'll have to see what Liv's response is, because we didn't get one this week. She was very much out of the room, and we saw her a bit later on with Dom, and very much still upset, and Dom basically trying to muster up some people to help him with his triple threat later on in the evening. But Liv was still upset, basically. So
yeah, well, I was going to say, BenNy, they could always make Stephanie the new leader of Judgment Day. I mean, where, if they wanted to go that route, I'm not saying they will, but to your point, if they do flip, whether intentional or not, maybe Stephanie would fit that group. She, let her be the baby face for a while, and then this may be the moment to turn her heel. But I say it, and I'm like, man, Liv is just so good at that role, though. I don't know that I would go there, but it is tempting because it would be something different. But so either way, I want to see the match, regardless of creative.
Yes,
I do want to see the match.
Pardon me. A couple of weeks ago, I saw somebody online was talking about maybe Dom is going to turn on Liv, and Stephanie Vaquer is going to be the next one, essentially. So Dom's going through the roster a bit here, but
man, I'm envious of Dom, man. The hot girls do like
Liv. Now, that was, but whether that's but what Dom's going to do. I mean, we've I can't remember who won it now, because Dom will have to face somebody soon for the Intercontinental Championship. There was like a number one contenders match, wasn't there?
It was Penta. Penta defeated the imposter. That's Ludwig Kaiser, the El Grande Americano. So
that's it.
The only reason I recalled it, because there's so much going on, folks. So it's hard for us all to retain all the information per se. But yeah, it was a Mexican Destroyer. It was quite the finisher.
That's it,
that he hit on that El Grande Americano. Gosh, now that they got two, I'm getting confused anymore.
I don't know if you want to, before we move on fully onto Raw, because I know we kind of have. Do you want to mention? Do you want to talk about the women's championship match or no? Because it didn't quite hit for me. I just want to know what your thoughts were on it.
I'll touch on it briefly. You would think on paper and that you've got Jade Cargill, who's looks like this Greek Adonis. I mean, the woman version, and Jordan Grace too. They're both in incredible physical condition. And
Yes.
you would think, oh, it's been building with these promos and with Jordan Grace asking or actually demanding, hey, I want a title opportunity because to Jade Cargill. And Jade keeps brushing her off. And they even team together. And there were seeds planted with the build to the match where there was some miscommunication. But we saw where Grace won the match for the team of Cargill last week on SmackDown. And now we get this title match, this opportunity for Jordan Grace. And I don't know if it was chemistry issues. I'm only a fan, but from a outsider's perspective, it felt flat to me. It was underwhelming. These two are great. I've got nothing but admiration and respect for both Grace and
They're
Cargill.
amazing, yeah.
And
100%.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I preference that because it's so easy.
Yeah.
I see so many people online just going to tear them to shreds. I'm like, man, if you look like that and we're athletic and we're in WWE, I'd be envious of these two ladies, which I am. But to get to the point, I mean, they tried, but it just, I don't know, maybe it was timing or something. It's probably a good thing it didn't go longer. I'm actually glad the time was not too lengthy because I don't know, unless they do something different, which, I'm hopeful they can redo it and we'll have a better match. I just, for me, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It didn't have to be great, but for a championship match, I can't wait to get your thoughts on it. And speaking of Liv, we did have Dirty Dominic Mysterio with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez with the Valentine's Day. So she was scouting, potentially maybe if it's going to be Grace or Cargill, because if Grace won, that would be the new champion.
Do you? So that's what I was going to bring up. I'm glad you brought it up because do you think, again, fan of Dom in a sense of what he's been doing, Rodriguez and Liv, obviously. She was my number one pick to win the Rumble this year. I'm just bragging that. I'm going to milk that till WrestleMania because I got it right. So
yeah, why not? Hey, BenNy is correct, folks.
Well, Jericho's still boasting about how he beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night. And that was in 2001. We're only 2026, man. So, it is what it is. Anyway, my point is, do you think, and well, this is what I think. I won't ask you the question, but I'll see whether you agree, is basically, again, a fan of, and I get the logic of Liv scouting potential champions and who to pick going to WrestleMania. I get that. I think, or I thought at the time, even while watching it, I thought, really, you're going to do this during a women's championship match? So I having Judgment Day ringside, although does make sense in terms of Liv scouting, but having them both come out, it's about to be announced that it was announced that this is for the women's championship, WWE Women's Championship. Then having them come out and interrupting that took the shine off the title match a little bit. As much as it makes sense, and I know we moaned about it, I literally moaned about it 10 minutes ago about things stitching together and stuff. But this is a title match, so I would have actually rather than having Jade win, which the match was fine. I'm not shitting on it that much, but it felt flat, I think, because we had them come out after the fact. But I think to protect both going forward, and Jordan Grace going forward, I think it might have been better if Liv and Rodriguez got involved, and just to end it in a DQ, to leave that open for a future match between Jordan Grace and Jade maybe down the line. But them coming out after they've pretty much announced this match is about to start, or they're about to announce the women's, it just took it away from the match a little bit, even though it could have been better. That's all I will say on the subject.
No, I completely see your observation, BenNy. To me, there was a time and place to insert Liv. I like the interference. I get it's Valentine's Day, but you could have done that segment backstage and had Liv and Raquel come out to make it a disqualification. So I do think that would have been better. It's just my opinion as well, just like Benny's perspective, because it did take away from Cargill and Grace. But at the same time, maybe WWE is building this to why they had a shorter match, and maybe why, it may have been a good thing that it wasn't as good as probably we thought it could be between those two. Speaking of Grace and Cargill, because they'll definitely have another match down the road that'll be one we're still going to be talking about. That'll be a lot better. So, and maybe
Yeah.
that was the plan all along. Who knows? I mean, you have to think
Yeah.
along those lines as well.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, obviously, hindsight's 2020. We could, she woulda, shoulda, coulda. You know, it is what it is. But anyway.
And I've never been
would say-
2020 anyway, so
I don't think I am, mate. To be honest with you, I'm not going to say this was overly a shock, but I'm not dissing on it either. But Cody Rhodes is heading to the Chamber, despite the fact that Drew McIntyre hitting the Claymore and then even putting Sammy on Cody to get the win. Drew's in this. Drew is a heel, but at the same time, is kind of not a heel. He's in that sort of no man's land. He's generally
kind of in between.
I would say he's 60-40 a heel now, whereas before he was probably 80-20 or 90-10, but now he's kind of in that 60-40 sort of era. But
it's where he's showing some kind of sick kind of compassion for Sammy, like the backstage promo before the match. And I can't remember if it was right before the main event qualifying match for the Chamber between Zayn,
pretty much,
Cody,
yeah.
And who was the other participant? Gosh, I'm blanking out.
Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gosh, I apologize. It happens, but yeah, Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre was telling Sammy, "Listen, I can help you." He was already letting him know, I can help you win, or you've got an opportunity. Maybe does Sammy turn bad? I mean, I don't know. But after what we saw, we're like, there's still going to be some kind of issue between the two because, Cody won. He got the crossroads. It was a huluva kick to Drew that, in the end, cost Sammy because Sammy, if he would have, allowed Drew to do it, but I guess Sammy's going to be that good guy because he doesn't want to win the match that way. But yet it cost him. So it was very interesting. I thought the finish was. I didn't know where they were going to go because it looked like, maybe Sammy is going to go over. Because I'm like you, I probably, fair or not, I thought Cody for sure because he's such a star. Though you'd like to see some other people in it, you're like, well, how can Cody get to WrestleMania? And to see Drew do the Claymore and come out and roll over Sami Zayn's shoulder on top of Cody, and then the referee finally gets in the ring and he makes a count, and then Cody, his shoulder goes up. I mean, I was like, whoa, okay. Then Sammy's not winning this. So what's your thoughts? I'm sorry I went ahead too. I tend to do it as well.
That's fine. The you brought it up, actually. I'm glad you did, because Cody, obviously Drew hit Cody with the Claymore, and then it all shenanigans intertwined. And then ultimately Sammy gets put on Cody, but Cody kicks out. What I'm leaning towards Sami Zayn, whether it's a heel turn, but definitely a attitude change is coming, I think, because what I took away from that, as you explained all that, and I'm glad you did because it brought me back into it, but like Sammy tried to save Cody from Drew. Once Drew was dealt with, Cody took no time at all to hit that crossroads on Sammy. Now, all right, he's got to win the match, I get that. But I felt it was very much like, I don't know whether Cody's going to turn at any point, but Sammy, if I'm Sami Zayn, I've just saved your ass and you've immediately grabbed hold of me and hit your finish to win the match. Yes, that's how matches work, I get that. But as Sami Zayn trying to grasp this bloody world title, and I'm doing the right thing all the time to help my friends, to do the right thing in matches, to be the fan favourite, it's got to be relatively soon that we see
it's going to be frustrating for him.
Whether Cody turns heel or whether Sammy turns heel, or if you want to do the traditional term, but Sammy's attitude change, I think, is coming, and it's coming very soon. Whether that happens, I'm before Mania, I think it's going to happen. Now, in terms of who did take out Jacob Fatu, because Jacob Fatu's still saying it's Drew. Drew's saying it wasn't me. And let's face it, Drew's character is very... Now, he could be lying, obviously, as we've said many times on this podcast. But who did actually take out Jacob?
Could it be Sammy? I mean, we don't know. Sammy could
be Cody?
Yeah, Cody. Yeah, very true.
Could it be Cody, you know? So there's a lot of what-ifs going on in WWE at the moment, to be honest, and a lot of whodunnits going on, which we'll move on to Raw.
There sure is. It would help if I'd remember who else was in the match. When Jacob Fatu's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal, man. Don't get it wrong again, because he might be giving you the
and I don't want to make that guy mad. Trust me. Yeah, that's why I like Jacob Fatu. He's very real.
We already talked about it briefly. We'll move on to Raw, the Intercontinental Championship match. Now, I forgot who was in the match. So you saved me and I saved you today. So we've got the hot tags going between Penta and Jacob Fatu going on. So it's fine.
Yeah,
man.
I like it.
But so as you've already said, Penta and El Grande Americano, the Ludwig Kaiser version, whatever you want to call it, the one with the little stable going. But yeah, so Penta wins and is going to have a future chance at Dom Mysterio for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. But we had the original El Grande Americano come into the ring and hitting a very familiar, well, not even familiar, Chaos Theory German suplex. I wonder who used to do that. Some guy that was like a mini.
Yeah, somebody. He's very familiar.
He looks familiar. Yeah. I also like the fact that we've gone from Corey Graves saying it's not Chad Gable, and now he's almost alluding to I think it might be Chad Gable pretending to be El Grande Americano. It's brilliant.
Yeah, there's been a entertaining change as far as Corey's commentary.
Yeah. So he gets into a bit of a scrape with the current El Grande and the original, but I liked the fact that we had Penta and the original have a moment of just. Because Penta and the other luchadors were going after the original El Grande 6 months ago. So for them to not just go into the ring and shake hands and move on, to have that little... It wasn't much, but it was just enough for me to go, there's a little bit of a nod there. Not like... They have, like... Sorry, I get my words out. Penta was trying to... Yeah, Penta was trying, and all the other luchadors were trying to get at this El Grande, and it's Chad Gable, blah, blah, blah. And now he's come out to help him not be beat down by the... El Grande and is it Rio and Bravo and all that.
Yeah, something.
So, but to acknowledge the history that they had, even if it was so subtle to me, but to acknowledge the fact that there was a bit of a thing there, but for them to have almost like this little nod moment and then a little fist bump between them, which was fine. But we're still building to that El Grande original versus current El Grande. I reckon it will be Mania, mate, to be honest. I want to see it at Mania.
The way they're building it, I mean, because he's trying to take the mask off, it's definitely going to be mask versus mask, because he a bit... The original, who we believe is Chad Gable, was trying to take Kaiser's version of the mask off. And so who knows? But people have been critical some, and that's great. That's their opinion. I have actually enjoyed this, especially now that El Grande Americano, the original, has returned. Because just when you think that the imposter El Grande Americano has an advantage, and he's got his other luchadors out there, the way that he dragged one of them under the ring, it was very Undertaker-like, but it is not in a dark way. And then you're like, whoa, what happened to that guy? Yeah, and then he, like you mentioned, the German suplex where he rolled it through. That's what impresses me, the way Gable, or pardon me, El Grande Americano.
No, El Grande. It's not Gable. How dare you?
Yeah, it's not Gable. Forget it. But it was very, Gable-like is what I'm trying to get out. And speaking of my words, with the German suplex. So I just think it's all fun. The way Michael Cole said that was a little much, or what was the terminology? Michael Cole made me laugh when he said something along the lines when it was the original El Grande Americano. Maybe it was reacting to Graves. And I should have wrote it down. I knew my memory would give up on me, but it was like something along the lines that is, I'm paraphrasing, that was a bit much, or with the reaction. So yeah, I'm not sure, but it just kind of tickled me. I don't know why.
The Michael Cole Corey Graves dynamic, by the way, I actually really like it. You're never going to beat JR and King. You never, but Corey Graves, for a long time I feel was underrated. Him and Mauro Ranallo, when they did the NXT stuff back in the Black and Gold era, I absolutely the Mauro Ranallo's voice has got that sports boxing MMA. He does MMA now, doesn't he? Does UFC, but like he's got that voice. And Corey Graves being like off the cuff and also having knowledge of the like King did, being the wrestler in the JR, but. Some of the greater moments in NXT got Black and Gold is Mamma Mia from, I know some people didn't like it, but the closest for me to, and you can't compare JR and King, but like the closest to me in the modern at the time was Corey Graves and Mauro Ranallo. I thought they were freaking amazing together. But Michael Cole, I know Pat McAfee's fun and stuff, and I do miss Pat McAfee on commentary, but Corey Graves is, I feel, a bit underrated, to be honest. I think he's actually really good, and having him with a Michael Cole, I think they're both great together. Because I struggle. I like Wade Barrett, and I like Joe Tessitore, but I do struggle with them a little bit when I'm watching SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they found their balance.
I think they have too, and Joe Tessitore definitely comes from that sports background. So, there's no denying he's talented. It may just take him some time, and I'm one to talk because I've never been in that position. I'm just saying, as for a fan, who's watching and listening to his commentary, you can tell he gets into it because he was yelling. I've never heard Tessitore get that excited when the finish with Cody and Sammy and Drew. So that part was pretty good, and then Wade too helping him out. Yeah, I've enjoyed Wade Barrett on commentary, but you are correct. I think the combination of Graves and Cole has they both elevate each other due to Cole's experience, and Graves has had a lot of experience now. He's doing AAA. He's working quite a bit, and Mauro Ranallo was spectacular. The emotion, it was like JR. He could get the emotion, though they were different. The Mamma Mia was like, my God, he's broken in half. I mean, it's almost, I'm not going to say they're both the same or on that level, but they're both that catchphrase is what I'm trying to explain. You need an explanation.
In the moment when you're watching, like the most current one is Michael Cole finished the story along with a count when Cody beat Roman a few years ago. I'll never forget that. My daughter, I think I've told this on the podcast, but my daughter proper tearing up when Cody won and stuff. It was such a cool, because wrestling, for audio people, I'll say it, but wrestling isn't in the head, it's in the heart, it's in the feels. And that's the same with any entertainment medium, whether it's film, music, whatever. It's not here, it's here. And that's where wrestling is for me. And to see my daughter get into it and then to see her get emotional, to see, because the look on her face when Cody didn't win the previous year, as a long-time fan, I'm going, it's coming. I mean, we even spoke about it on this very podcast. You can go back to 39, and me and Tyler said 100% Cody is not winning. Why would he? It makes no sense right now for him to win. When we got to 40, Cody's winning. It makes more sense now, And
no, we did.
What a freaking moment.
It was, and I love that you bring the moment your daughter was getting emotional because it is. We feel things. It comes from the heart. It's our passion. It's why we're invested in these stories and in the music and all forms of entertainment. Well said. There's not much to add because you nailed it. I was just going to add just briefly some of these same feelings that we all gather when we're listening or watching something. It's all very true and very beautiful at the same time. Going back to the moment with your daughter, so I love that you bring it up. I none of us get tired of that. That's good stuff.
It's just watching. For me, it was reminiscent of watching. Do you know what? I always say Backlash 2000 when Rock became champion, but actually, that did get me in the feels, I'm not going to lie. But when Jericho became champion for about 6.5 minutes, when he beat Triple H on a Raw, and JR's call, we've got a new champion. I cannot do it justice by any stretch of the imagination, but those moments, not only do you remember them and feel them, but when you hear JR saying the lines, that, like the Mankind thing you brought it up a minute ago, good God Almighty, they've killed him. As God as my witness, he's broke. Again, I can't do it justice, but he makes you, as the person watching wrestling on TV at home, he made you feel it. So when commentators gel together perfectly, which I think now Corey Graves and Cole have done, Wade and Testa are getting there. But I have my favourite. Like I'm sure you have your favourites as well. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this show who have favourite commentators. So but it's a big measuring stick between JR and King. Sorry. So they're like they are living legends, to be honest. They're amazing.
They are. It's hard to argue with that combination. And for the fans before King and JR, Gorilla and Bobby, Gorilla and Jesse were terrific as well. But if you grew up, especially like we did, in the 90s, the Attitude Era, then those guys were it. I mean, they were, and before the Attitude Era, really, they were still working together on a lot of those pay-per-views and various programs. But Michael Cole, Corey Graves, I'm enjoying hearing them settle in. I mean, they had chemistry before, but it's only reinforced, to your point. With those
I can't remember and we'll get back to Raw in a second, I promise. But I can't remember the actual moment or what was being talked about. But King was basically like, "We think this person's really good," referring to a heel because he was the heel commentator. And then JR responding, "What do you mean we? Have you got a mouse in your pocket?" And I just remember laughing my absolute ass off at that. And just because we were talking, I reminded them. I don't know. I know I've seen it and I've heard it, but I remember laughing my absolute. Was it King or was it Paul Heyman? Actually, now that I think about it,
it could have been either.
It might have been. Yeah, because yes, I just remember JR because sometimes King was always considered, and Paul Heyman were considered the funnier. They were the color commentators, so they were considered the funnier. But JR had his moments where he just land one-liners like that, and you just like, damn. And I remember, was it? I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed with myself now because I actually think it might have been Paul Heyman during the Invasion era. But somebody might.
It might have been.
If you do know, ladies and gents, whatever it is, at In the Corner WWE on X, and or comment below on the YouTube video, I appreciate it if you could, because I cannot remember for the life. But I just remember JR's response. What do you mean we? You got a mouse in your pocket? And I just remember just breaking. I was just like, I loved it.
Yeah. So. Oh, JR was fantastic with some of those lines. I'll go back now. I need to send you this, BenNy, and I'm sure most people have seen it. If you've not, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but. There's that this segment that WWE used to do, and it had Vince McMahon. Vince Russo was Vic Venom, can you believe it? And Michael Hayes was hosting it. You had Sonny and Jim Cornette, all those personalities in the same room. Well, JR calls in and really is just giving it to Vince, and then Vince is having to defend himself. It's great, though. They make you suspend your disbelief like this is actually an issue, and it may have been. But they put it into the storyline. That's where they were blurring the lines, and it's really gripping. I mean, I was like, JR was on it, man. And then Vince had to go, well, JR, that may be. I can't do it justice. I'm going to butcher it, but I need to send BenNy the segment. It's just now that we're talking about the one-liners from JR, and just even if he's got a rebuttal, he's just some of the things he comes up with. I'm just it pops you. You start laughing. You're like that. It's actually really good stuff.
I couldn't tell you what match was going on. I honestly, that's the problem. Again, wrestling is here and in the chest, but in the heart. But also it's about wrestling. Yes, you remember excellent matches, but do you remember everything of that match? No, you remember the moments. So but yeah, I don't know why that popped into my head as we were talking about JR and King, but I just remember him saying, "What do you mean we? Have you got a mouse in your pocket?" And I remember just laughing my ass off at it. So yeah, Cody going to Chamber then. Do we? The general consensus seems to be that the WWE Championship match will be potentially a triple threat in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, that might not happen. Obviously, we've got Punk. Well, Roman's going to be at Mania. Is he going to be facing Finn or Punk? It could be. I don't know where this is going, but logically, you got to say. I'd love to see Finn in Punk one more time. It was a bloody good match he had it back in Ireland, a few weeks ago. So I'm not going to say no to it. I'm actually excited for that match. But sitting here with you now, and we'll do a proper prediction show next week. But as I sit here with you now, I don't know whether Finn's going to be walking out In fact, if anything, I think he might get help, air quotes, from Judgment Day, and ultimately it will cost him, and then that'll maybe further that story with Judgment Day and get Finn eventually either fully in charge of Judgment Day or out of Judgment Day to do what he needs to do. But yeah, just your thoughts quickly on that, really.
I love the match. I'm in agreement between Finn Balor and CM Punk and at Elimination Chamber. But I don't see Punk losing just because of the appeal from the Roman Reigns against CM Punk at WrestleMania. Nothing against Finn Balor. I'm loving that he's getting some momentum behind him, and I want to see him get a WrestleMania moment. Maybe he still can some way, but he's right there on the cusp, and I cannot wait to see where the Judgment Day story goes. I think he needs to separate himself eventually because, I mean, Finn's going to finally have to do away with the help, but he'll probably still get it. I can see where you're going with it. Between JD McDonough coming back and Dominic Mysterio being in the picture. And it goes back to the promo. I mean, and we'll get to it where CM Punk was addressing about their assistance and their involvement in Balor's matches and how his career is going. So I don't know. I don't know where Balor goes. I guess he could feud with Judgment Day. I don't know if you do it right at Mania. Maybe you can build to it. You've got enough time at Elimination Chamber. Maybe the interference. He gets frustrated, whether he takes charge of the group or not. I just feel like it's better if Balor is away from him. I think they do something to him or finally infuriate him enough to where, okay, I've had enough. And he feuds with him for a little while, and then he goes on to something else. But I think there's something even bigger for Finn Balor because he's such a star, and we did need to be reminded of it. So that's my thoughts. I should have made them quicker, but I would, as you tend to go into things, you elongate it. So forgive me.
That's what we're here to do, man. We're here to talk wrestling. We're here to talk some WWE.
Yeah, we are. I just don't want to bore us sometimes because I tend to get off.
If I fall asleep in my chair, then you've. If I fall asleep in my chair,
yeah. Well, I mean, BenNy was his eyes were going back, so I may almost put him to bed. I don't know.
I was up early for work today, mate. It's not you. I enjoy talking to you.
All right.
But very quickly, I'm gonna play. Let's play a bit of what if with BenNy quickly because we have.
Right.
So Elimination Chamber, Finn. I think we're both in agreement. I think a lot of people, as much as we like Finn Balor, it's not Finn Balor's story right now to become world champion. And I think via Judgment Day, inadvertently, air quotes again, ultimately Dominic is the one that costs Finn the world championship. More friction within the Judgment Day. Oh, don't worry about it, Finn. We're cool. We're family. Blah, blah, blah. And then do we have people getting involved in the Intercontinental Championship match between Dom and Penta, namely to help Dom retain, but then does Finn return the favor and cost? Well, could be the AAA Championship for all I know, but just playing WWE quickly, does Finn wait for his revenge and gets his revenge on Dominic and costing him the Intercontinental Championship? And then, like you said, then we have the feud with Judgment Day, and then maybe Finn Balor picks up the AAA title. You have no, or maybe he picks the IC title.
You never know.
I don't know, but there's several ways you could go with this. Maybe Dom retains the IC title, goes to AAA to defend the AAA title, loses it because of Finn. Cross-brand feud going on here, and then we have Finn versus Dom for the IC title and feuding with Judgment Day, like you said. Now, if that happens, Tyler, I know I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit here. Does JD McDonough follow Finn, or does he stick with Judgment Day?
That's a tough one. I think he sticks with Judgment Day. I think he could tease where he's going to align with Finn because they're both from Ireland, but then he turns on him. I think because as much as I don't mind JD with Finn and knowing the history, I would much rather see Finn just break away completely. And that includes JD. Yeah. Just have JD stay with Judgment Day because JD he just got back. I think you still got to build him more. And which this is part of it. This would be a big story regarding that. But I like the idea of Dominic and Finn Balor, maybe at Mania, maybe after Backlash or some other pay-per-view, where Balor infiltrates AAA and costs Dominic or or maybe costs a lot of Judgment Day. Maybe he ends up costing JD. Maybe that's what causes friction too, or ultimately the separation we're alluding to.
Well, coming full circle, as you mentioned, Mania just reminded me that where did Dom win the IC title initially, and who did he actually pin?
It was Balor, wasn't
it? It was in that Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, in WrestleMania. So it would make sense from a storytelling perspective.
For full circle moment, Balor beating Dom for the IC title at Mania. So actually, yeah, I think make Dom, drop that AAA title thanks to Balor, which then leads into. So they have a bit of a falling out, and Finn maybe disappears for a week, and then Dominic's got to defend the AAA title, and then Finn reappears. Not full Demon. I don't think we need Demon quite that early, but Finn Balor reappears and costs Dominic the AAA title, possibly. Don't have to do that, but ultimately you can get to Mania, I think, with Finn and Dom for the IC title. And full circle, Finn was on the cusp of winning that last year, and Dominic snuck in the back door and pinned his own. I believe he pinned Finn as well. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he pinned Finn.
I thought he did it, and maybe I'm wrong too, but I think he did. I think it was Finn Balor who Dominic pinned to win the Intercontinental title, as you were relaying it back to me and our audience here, whoever's tuning in. But I think that's a very appealing matchup, Dominic and Finn, and it's still for a championship. It could be high up on the card. It could be even the match before the main event. And I want to see Balor in a WrestleMania main event. I think we're going to get to that, but that's still going to be an important matchup to have Dominic and Balor if that happens. But I hope it does.
Well, yeah, I mean, just very quickly, last thing on it would be like the fact that Finn, again, we've already prefaced this where we don't think Finn's going to be picking up the title at Chamber, but it will progress the story with Finn Balor like we've just laid out for you for the next couple of months, unless next month at least, after the fact. I mean, WrestleMania would be cool because it would be a full circle moment in terms of when Dominic initially picked up. I know he's lost it and regained it since, but he picked it up initially at Mania last year in that Fatal 4-Way that happened. So it would be interesting to see. It'd be a cool full circle moment. And then Finn's obviously been knocked back twice by the world champion, who's CM Punk now at the moment. Finn could move forward with the IC title for 6 months or whatever, if not longer, and rebuild that babyface Finn Balor to get him up to that point to possibly a world champion. Because again, I said to you last week, very much passionately last week, that Finn Balor's that guy that was the first ever Universal Champion, got a shoulder injury in the match, and had to literally relinquish it. And all right, again, like I said, picked up the NXT title again, but he hasn't been a world champion in WWE in terms of on the main roster. It's got to be 10 years easily.
It's had to be a lengthy time since Finn has been a champion and been in the title hunt. But I'll tell you what they're doing with CM Punk and Finn Balor with that segment on Raw. I mean, that's what CM Punk is trying to get out of Finn Balor. Not only respect, but he's trying to remind him, you used to be something, man. He's like, the Judgment Day, they're an anchor. They're holding you down. He's like, I'm ready. You're going to get these fists. I mean, it was one thing out of respect, I gave you the opportunity in your home country in Belfast. But now in Chicago, my home turf, it's personal now. You've definitely made your feelings known. And I just love how they're creating the story from these promos. Everything is essential. These ingredients that WWE in any promotion, nonetheless, would cook up to get these two, where we're going to see, these issues be culminated at Elimination Chamber. Will it continue? I'm not sure. I think you got to move on once Elimination Chamber happens, because you've got to give Roman and CM Punk some time, and then, as you were aforementioning, maybe if we get the Dominic Balor match and more of this trouble within Judgment Day, we can see more time for it to set up and really go to a build or a head per se at WrestleMania. So I love what you laid out there. I really can't disagree with it. But I will say with Punk, the tie-in at Elimination Chamber, is I love these tidbits. I know we say it, but these details, the certain aspects of these interviews, whether it's backstage or in the ring, are so important. I mean, they're vital to the success of these matchups because there's a lot of truth. Finn Balor was talking about all the catch wrestlers, the dojos, and whether it's Europe or Japan, and the luchadors in Mexico. It was CM Punk who was telling Finn, "Wait a minute, you're one of the best in the world, but yet you're letting Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, these guys holding you back." I mean, I love
Yeah.
how he's calling him out, and that's making Finn think, though he doesn't want to. It's human nature, but eventually, notice he held him back when they wanted to attack Punk. Punk was giving them the opportunity on Raw, and then backstage, JD McDonough and Finn had a confrontation. When JD said, "Finn, you should have let us take him out," and Finn was not in agreement because of Punk's words. So it's definitely they're doing some neat things with the storyline is what I'm trying to get at. But sometimes you got to go around it to get the points.
Well, a previous member of the Judgment Day, when Damian Priest became world champion, wanting to do it the right way, and the rest of Judgment Day not, no, we need to make sure you stay champion. We need to make sure we beat down the good guys and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's very reminiscent of Damian Priest. Obviously, Priest cashed in and and all that, but wanted to be a true champion. Essentially, I don't know whether I'm paraphrasing, but what I'm getting at is that this has happened before. In a sense of Damian Priest wanting to do the right thing, and the rest of Judgment Day getting a bit like assy about the fact that they're like, no, let us help you. And he's like, no, I don't want your help. I want to be a fighting champion, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, very, very, very reminiscent is what I will say. I think there's two more things really left to talk about. I mean, one thing I want to really talk about very, very briefly is that we also have Obafemi on Raw, possibly looking at a Raw contract. Obviously, he's been on he's been on SmackDown, so he's made an offer by Nick Aldis, and now Adam Pearce wants to make an offer. Very quickly, I'm glad you noticed it as well, but Rusev comes in. There was just a face-to-face between Oba and Rusev. Nothing said. Now, I know you noticed it because we talked about it off air, but underneath Rusev's T-shirt was the old school. You couldn't see the whole thing, but he had his old Rusev Day T-shirt on. Is that a sign of things to come? And I've always said that never really got given its chance when it was at the height of its popularity, and people were chanting along Rusev Day, and Aiden English coming out and doing his whole thing, which I thought was bloody brilliant. And when they added it to the video game as well, which it's just a cool thing. That period of time also with Elias, Walk with Elias, never really went anywhere, unfortunately. But they tried to bring Elias back, and it didn't quite. The time had passed for it, unfortunately.
And never hit. Yeah, I think the timing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, those little hints hiding it under the T-shirt, Rusev Day T-shirt. They're saying, what's in the box and stuff. Imagine it's Aiden English coming out to do Rusev Day for Rusev.
Hey,
I don't think it is, but
it's fun to think about.
I don't know if there's anything to add to it, Tyler. But if there, but I just obviously we talked off air about it, and we did notice the T-shirt. I'm sure a lot of people did. I suppose the question to you would be: would you want to see Rusev Day come back? And I preface this with, as long as they have maybe Aiden English doing the voiceovers again when he used to introduce him.
Well, I think it's very appealing to have the Rusev Day come back, the movement that was there previously. I'm not sure if Lano will be back or not, but from the interaction going back to Obafemi and Rusev and wearing the Rusev Day shirt, to your point, BenNy, it seems like we're going to get a match between the two, possibly if Obafemi does sign with Raw. I mean, he could still sign with SmackDown. Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce are both actively pursuing this free agent, and I can't blame them. I mean, he's an impressive guy, but maybe after the feud, or maybe it's a way for Rusev to try to recruit Obafemi because there's some international flair here. However, maybe Obafemi goes against Rusev enough, and they have enough matches where it's not going to happen, but you could at least tease it. But I'm excited. Aiden English can come back. I mean, and we could have a Rusev Day moment because when he first came back, it was promising when talking about WWE. But then it's like, well, we never saw him much, and it's like now that he's back, it was nice to see him backstage and where he was confronting Obafemi, and it's so different because if you look on SmackDown, uh, Kid Wilson with his toxic poetry, which was hilarious with R-Truth and Damian Priest, and then Obafemi when Nick Aldis was even get in on the fun, and he was informing Kit that, oh, let me read this poem while Obafemi was right there, and you could tell Kit was like, no, no. And of course, Nick, part of me read it, and it's going to set up, I'm sure, another match. So, but I don't know. I mean, Obafemi's one of those guys. He's going to do well no matter what the brand. But I would love to see him at least have a match with Rusev, and maybe Rusev. This is an opportunity since he wore the shirt, the little tease as we mentioned, where we could see that Rusev Day movement come back. I think it's been gone long enough. It would actually be nice to see it return. I'm not sure.
I will admit, when he came back to WWE, I was kind of hoping for the Rusev Day, but not getting it straight away. Fine. If they're, I mean, is it just a t-shirt? Slightly hide the t-shirt, but fans that know that's the Rusev Day t-shirt. Is he going to be doing? I mean, we've been seeing it for months with the Finn Balor like stuck behind them somewhere with the demon picture and stuff. So, and they like to play their Easter eggs now, WWE, which I really like. It's nice little oh, is it that and is it this? So, just going forward, I don't think we'll see it in the next month or maybe WrestleMania, but I don't know. But is it just a little tease for us to start talking about it and see whether people even pick up on it? I assume that the fact that I've seen it, others have seen it. You noticed it, so others, just maybe watch his space for Rusev Day. When Rusev Day is going to be, I don't know. We'll once we know, we'll mark it on the calendar, ladies and gents. I guess is the best.
Yeah, we'll keep everybody posted, including ourselves, because we're not sure.
Yeah. The show opened up with the Usos were coming out on Raw to obviously cut a promo. Was immediately interrupted by the Vision and Paul Heyman. Subsequently ended up LA Knight coming out, and the writing's on the wall. I'm glad they don't treat us like we don't know what's going to happen. 6-man tag. I actually thought it was going to be the main event. It wasn't. It ended up being literally the first match on the card. So we had LA Knight and the Usos, and the Vision. Now, I don't know about you, but as I was watching this match unfold, the unfortunate stuff with Braun Breaker being injured and stuff, I think obviously is going to hold any storylines, or at least they're going to have to try and tread water a little bit, I would assume, for wherever this was going. But for me, based on everything that's happened to the Vision lately, for them to be considered a threat, they needed to win this 6-man tag team match. I know they're going against the Usos, one of the greatest, if not the greatest WWE tag team in history. That's arguable, obviously. And LA Knight, being popular. But the excuse you can give is LA Knight and the Usos don't really get on. They're not really a tag team, whereas the Vision is a cohesive unit. So you can kind of get away with it, I think. But I think the Vision, as I'm sat here watching this match unfold, I'm like, Vision need to win this, really, for me, for them to be considered anything. Because they're, they took Seth out because they did, but obviously it was because of injury. Now Braun's hurt himself. So it is so for me, as I was sat there watching Raw, I thought Vision need to win this, which ultimately they did. And who got the win? Bronson Reed with the Tsunami. So Bronson is very much being pushed at the moment to be because the leader, I would say, is probably Paul Heyman, to be honest, if you're going to put a label on it. But Bronson Reed is very much being pushed as the alpha, I would guess, not the boss, but like almost the leader. If that makes any sense to you, Tyler. I mean, how do you think?
No, it does. I like Bronson Reed as kind of the alpha role because you don't have Braun Breaker, obviously, and for Bronson, this is I mean, I hate to say it or phrase it this way, but it's going to be good for him. And this was definitely going to be more of Braun's direction, being that alpha, that leader you were mentioning, Benny. But the way Bronson Reed has stepped up, the entire vision, the way they've stepped up to pardon me, Adam Pearce has, you can tell there's that tension, Austin Theory. But yeah, they did need the win. The Usos and Knight were a interesting combination, but it worked. It was an entertaining match. But you have to go back. There's the Masked Man. There's all these elements starting to work against the vision with Paul Heyman and Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, as we just talked about, and Austin Theory. They needed something. I mean, so the win was a good thing for them going forward. But at the same time, that Masked Man always gets the better of them. So they've still got to, though they've got the numbers, they're still struggling because there's always the Masked Man that is getting the better of them.
Yeah.
But I felt like, I like the way Logan Paul hit. I think it was Jimmy Uso with the right hand. It set up the tsunami, as you relayed. And I just feel the vision going forward, obviously they need the direction, and they've got Paul Heyman. That's all that needs to be necessary, as you've got the Oracle, the former wise man, and Paul Heyman. But I like how Bronson Reed, because he's kind of been stuck. So this is his way of getting possibly in the main event hunt, or at least right underneath, which is not a bad spot to be in. I like the interactions between Adam Pearce and all these people, and it's just been unbelievable. It's been neat to see it. It's one of the things about Raw and the WWE overall that I've looked forward to, is the whole stuff with the Vision and the masked mystery intruder that comes in from the crowd.
It's it's been good. I can still hear you, by the way. So I know the camera's just you've been a bit jolty the last few minutes. So I don't know why it's
okay.
but hopefully it'll come back.
It could be my connection. No, that's fine.
We can still hear you.
It may be. Yeah. Okay.
But,
you're fine.
But yeah. But ultimately, a lot of fans are talking about it possibly being Grayson Waller. Now, this person in the hood could be somebody different every week, let's face it. But somebody got a close-up of the person and is very much saying it's Grayson Waller. Now, a lot of people are going, "Oh, that wouldn't make any sense." The way it would make sense for me is let's just play on the trip of it is Grayson Waller very quickly, is that the initial of Austin Theory coming in, and I've said this before, is Austin Theory really with the Vision? Let's assume he's not. So actually, Grayson Waller being the masked man would make sense. Doesn't make sense when you look at it. Why would he attack, Logan Paul and everything? It is actually Seth Rollins pulling the strings here, and is it actually, is it Grayson Waller? Then there's ultimately Grayson Waller, could potentially. There's two ways you could go with Grayson Waller, because Grayson Waller could be attacking Austin Theory because he left him high and dry, and now he's back and he's doing the stuff with the Vision, or is Seth pulling the strings and actually Austin Theory's a little spy? And there's so many moving parts. There's so many different ways you could go with it. That's the problem. A lot of people are still saying it's Adam Pearce. We saw Adam Pearce a lot on this Raw, on and off the screen. About 5 or 6 times. There's a lot for a GM, which is it, but it makes sense to stitch the stories together. So, is that a way of diverging it away from Adam Pearce? Say that it's not him. I don't know, but a lot of people are saying it's Grayson Waller, or is it just somebody to fill that void? And it is going to actually be Seth Rollins to a mask when they finally do the unveiling of the mask. If that makes any sense, but I wouldn't see. I wouldn't put it past them to be Seth actually getting Austin Theory and Grayson Waller back together and saying, "Here, help me out with the Vision," basically, in some way, shape, or form. They can explain it that way. If Austin Theory is a mole, which is what we just spoke about a few weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I guess there's a lot of whodunits.
No, we are.
Who is it?
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of just enthralling details about these stories, and I can't wait. I mean, sure, we like to investigate, do our own kind of detective work, but in the end, we love the surprise element of it too. So it's going to be whatever the reveal shows us. I like the way they're leading us down this road, though, with who could it be? This masked man who's curb stomping Logan Paul 1 week on Raw after he's talking trash to Michael Cole. I love the segment how we don't see how the cameras zoom in on Logan Paul and then we see whoever it is do the curb stomp, and it's all really riveting.
Yeah,
I think they're doing it well. Yeah, absolutely.
Adam Pearce delivered to WWE is a bit very ambiguous. In the crate, what's in the box? Apparently do not open till the 28th of the 2nd, 26, or 28, 26 if you're like my friend Tyler across the pond. Could this box be related to could it be related to the Masked Man and Seth Rollins? Now, a lot of people are like myself, even again, we're all very excited about the prospect of Jericho potentially returning to WWE. But what we read earlier was that actually his contract's just been paused with AEW. So I don't know what's happening. Whether that's just been put out there to make us think that, I have no idea. But could this create... Well, one, could it be Jericho? Yes, it could quite easily be Jericho. But could it actually be related to the Masked Man and Seth Rollins? I mean, what was your takeaway from it, Tyler?
I mean, I really was not thinking of the Seth Rollins Masked Man angle, but I mean, it's possible. To me, it would be easy to think, well, Jericho didn't show up at the Rumble, so maybe this is his time to appear at Elimination Chamber, adding more intrigue to a possible return. But then we talked off air, BenNy, about Fightful releasing our article, and I'm sure other websites regarding the status of Chris Jericho. And it seems there's some dates that are rolled over from his current AEW contract to where that seems maybe impossible now. So could it be Seth Rollins that you do the big reveal now so you can go to WrestleMania? And we all figured maybe it's him because the curb stomp, some of the move sets. But again, they're doing a nice job, whether it's Grayson Waller, whether it's Austin Theory working from inside the division. I mean, they're doing a good job of making you at least think, who could it be? Somebody else besides Seth Rollins? And could the crate be the answer? I'm not sure. To me, that's cool, but I would much rather see it be a big signing that they have in the crate. To me, that and have Seth do his reveal somewhere else besides this crate. It just doesn't. I don't know that it adds up. And maybe I'm off base, but that's just my viewpoint.
We're gonna have at least 2 weeks before we even know what's in the box in the crate. So it is. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, because you could quite easily say like, oh, it's Jericho. It might be. I mean, he debuted in Chicago, I believe, back in '99. Was it Chicago? I believe it was.
It might have been because he interrupted The Rock, right? That was when the Y2J
so
really.
So again, we talk about full circle moments earlier. We talked about full circle moments earlier with Finn in the IC title and Dom and everything. Potentially, it could be Jericho. I'm hoping it's Jericho. I'd be very excited if it was Jericho. But yeah, it could easily, or it could also be linked to the Masked Man in this whole vision problem. So it's hard to know, man. It really is. But we'll have to tune in next week.
Well, I don't mean to seem like I'm literally scratching my head. I'm not, even though my camera's off. I was just going to elaborate. It's true though. It just makes you think of all the different ways they could do it, and it's fun. That's why these shows are a lot of fun to do, and that's why I paused, because I knew Jericho. I'm sure you're right. It was Chicago, but the Y2J stuff, the way they were building it up, like when everything was supposed to shut down, and then he used it as a gimmick, and then they put him in a position where it's The Rock, I mean, he's cutting all these great promos, and then Jericho actually held his own when he came out there, which impressed everybody. We knew he could
Yeah.
talk, but to go one-on-one and spar with The Rock and have that kind of segment on Raw, the flagship show back then and now, of course, I love SmackDown too, don't get me wrong, but Raw was the first show established, and that's really saying something.
Yeah, I mean, does the crate symbolize the forbidden door, air quotes? I don't know, but well, it's going to be interesting. It's again, there's so many ways. Are they trying to book week to week with the Masked Man? Maybe because of the injury to Braun Breaker, and they're trying to find out when Braun might be back to continue whatever they were going to do. Hopefully he'll be back before Mania. Maybe he'll be back at Chamber. I don't know how serious his injury actually was. I heard that he had to have surgery. But other than that, I don't know a great deal of what the prognosis is for Breaker, which is a shame because he was on such a tear and on the cusp of something. And
yeah, I hate it for him. Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to agree.
No, it's fine. Hopefully he can come back in soon rather than later, because the momentum that Vision have got is starting to dwindle a little bit. So hence why I said they needed that win on Raw. But it does look like they're establishing Bronson more as that alpha while Breaker's away. So maybe Bronson will maybe fill that gap should they need to. But yeah, we'll see. I do have one more thing I want to bring up. But yeah, what do you think about the whole Bronson and the box? Is it linked to Vision? Is it not? I have no idea.
I don't either. I mean, it would still be neat if it was linked to the Vision. As far as Bronson Reed, I love this presentation because I think that's what they were trying to get at anyways, and it just took him being in the group. The same thing with Brian Breaker and really Logan Paul with his attitude and people really not liking him outside of WWE, but yet he's a talented guy. I don't have anything personally against him. I respect him. I'll have my disagreements like with anybody. And then having Austin Theory return, this was a way to plug him back into everything. But Bronson Reed, I like. He's wearing the necklaces. I mean, they got the win over Roman Reigns. He was taking the shoes. I mean, he was making some statements. It was a declaration, in the words of Paul Heyman, or relative to those words. And I just love Bronson Reed, the Tsunami. I like the way he destroyed people, and they had to have security and officials because they were booking this guy like the monster he is. I mean, he's Ozilla, this guy from Australia that just takes out everybody, and you could cast him in a movie, like with a bloodline, like this mob type henchman. It's really neat. I mean, I like where they're going with it. So I can't speak much about the box. I know that fell flat. So because we're always wondering, but Bronson Reed I could speak more about. Now, is the box just a box of chocolates? I'm not sure. I hope not. I hope it's a box with a wrestler. I'm just trying to be funny. Maybe it is Seth Rollins. Maybe Jericho worked something out. Maybe it is Jericho. I think if it's going to have a Forbidden Door, I'm not so sure about, but I'm kind of leaning maybe Jericho could still be in the box just because that's the report. Maybe they got these details worked out beforehand, and maybe that's the story they want out there. That AEW to make you think, oh, maybe it's not. And then when it's time for Elimination Chamber, there he comes. Here comes Jericho.
Well, somebody put forward the idea of Kevin Owens and Jericho rekindling their Festival of Friendship type thing that happened all those years ago, which was brilliant. One of the best things they did in years. What if they open the crate and it's actually the painting that Kevin Owens had commissioned, with the whole in the background with Jericho doing the fingers with their fingers touching and all that, that kind of thing. I understand it, but maybe it won't be a wrestler inside. Maybe it will be a hint towards a wrestler potentially coming, because I think Jericho is still touring with Fozzy. I believe it's at the end of this month. So whether I can't remember without checking the dates now whether it was
me neither. But he's been out on the road.
Talk about it with Fozzy. Yeah. One last thing then before we go is very quickly the AJ Styles tribute show next week in Atlanta. Now I know it's in Atlanta. but it's not really being advertised that AJ is going to be there. He's meant to be retired from WWE. I stress the words from WWE. How would you feel, Tyler, if... I know how I feel, but how would you feel if AJ was there and somehow we ended up with a match between Gunther and AJ down the line, possibly at Mania? Bearing in mind AJ's meant to be retired from WWE, but also, as I put it out there, what would Gunther have to gain from it, if that makes any sense? So,
No, it does, and that would be my only drawback. It would be a great match, and I could see why, Gunther would come out and brag and cause for another match against AJ Styles, since it is supposed to be a tribute show to him, and they're in Atlanta. They're in his home area in Georgia. However, just as you mentioned, I believe it would do more harm than Gunther. I think AJ Styles, it's fine because he's been established. He's been this big star, high profile all over the world. We've often questioned, is this just part of a bigger story with AJ Styles? Is he really retired? Which, I mean, it seems to be legit the way people are, making these comments on social media from the interviews he's done afterwards. And if you're going to build Gunther to be this man who kills careers, they even flashed career killer when he came out on Raw. And I'm sure they've done it the previous week. So you would think, if I'm going to invest in Gunther, this newer guy that's been established as a star for sure, if he's already beat Styles, he beat Cena, he beat Goldberg, all these people, and he's had all these other great victories over, Randy Orton before at Bash in Berlin. And then I don't think you want to hurt his momentum by having another Styles Gunther match, even if it goes to WrestleMania. It would be a great match. It would, nothing wrong with the match overall, but as far as the story for both those guys, I don't know where you would go, because to me it may be better if Styles is retired, because I didn't know it was going to happen at Royal Rumble, but it made sense because though they were in Saudi Arabia, that's when he debuted. So I get it why they probably chose Royal Rumble to be the last event that AJ Styles does. But I mean, they could still have him do an appearance, and maybe Dragon Lee, maybe this is an opportunity for Dragon Lee to get involved and have the match with Gunther on Raw, and where Dragon Lee somehow can win, or even if it's a flat finish like a DQ, who knows? I mean, they could still. I don't know. I don't know that we need to see that, but if they wanted to go a certain way, maybe that's plausible. With Dragon Lee interfering, costing Gunther the match on Raw, and Javon Evans would go on to qualify for an Elimination Chamber. So I'm not sure either. It's just, but you wonder, is Styles actually going to be there, or is this just where people send videos and you see certain segments on Raw where they dedicate certain details about the program to AJ Styles, and we see the video packages. But you got to think or have the feeling per se, is AJ going to be there? Or maybe ask yourself the question. Let me re-edit and maybe ask ourselves the question: is AJ Styles going to be on Raw? And I mean, I'm not
he's
sure
not
either.
advertised, so he's not advertised.
No, he's not.
To be there,
so obviously he's not. I mean, maybe he's not going to be present, and we still get
that's
a
not
tribute
to say
show.
he won't be there, though.
Yeah, true, and that's what we're talking about. There's so many what ifs. It's fun. It's entertaining to go over these kind of analogies, of the what ifs. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't see there's any, apart from having a match at WrestleMania to have a match at WrestleMania. That's all it is to me. Again, playing BenNy's booking, whatever you want to call it. A few years ago, we did have Joe Hendry, the TNA champion, make an appearance at WrestleMania. Yes, he got beat by Randy Orton, but we did have the TNA champion. AJ has said, I'm retired from WWE. And, he's very much established in TNA. He's very much established in New Japan, and all that kind of stuff. So he could potentially still go and do some final matches where he wants to do them. Now, if you want to give Gunther a reason to say, well, why would I fight AJ? I've already beat him. He's retired. I don't have to fight him. Again, very much what if AJ picks up the TNA World title and says, "Here, I'll give you a reason. Face me for this, because you know you tapped out on Raw. You know, and yes, you did beat me at Rumble and I have to retire, but you tapped out. So, there is still a potential third match here, but the fact they've retired AJ, you don't want it to take away from the fact when a wrestler retires, they retired. You don't want to take away from that retirement match, otherwise... Yeah, I know a lot of people have come back and done matches and stuff like that. Mick Foley did it in 2000, in the not the Chamber, in the Hell in a Cell match, I beg your pardon. Ric Flair retired and was literally in TNA 2 months later. So it's not to say you can't do it, but to take away the meaning of the word retirement and having those matches, they can just come back if they lose. Do you know what I mean? So it would take away from it. So
I understand.
But I think that's the only way you could possibly do it is if you're going to do it. But Gunther has to have something to gain, aka the TNA World Title, possibly. That's the only way I can see it happening, really. If that makes any sense, because
it makes sense. I didn't mean to interject. I was just going to briefly say I just don't know that I want to see it, just because the way they made Gunther right now and having AJ go out. I mean, people could argue, well, he didn't go out on top. Well, he did, because even a loss can still be thought of very fondly. I mean, it's Gunther, so it's not like just anybody else. I mean, he lost to a very credible person, and I'm not sure. I mean, I love giving back to TNA, maybe becoming TNA champion, and maybe that is a way to get Gunther into a match, cross promotion, due to the relationship they have, or I believe they still do. I'm not sure or positive on that, but I don't know. I go back to, I'm not sure. I get what you're saying, and I like it. I just don't know that we need it. I mean, that's the argument, and I think that's going to be made.
No, I agree with you. I don't think we necessarily need it, but if you are going to do it to make it credible, I think that's the only way I can see it personally being, because why would Gunther, other than maybe being antagonized, which is not enough for me, it needs to be something, and the only way I can see Gunther even wanting to face AJ again would be for a championship. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head right here. So I'm with you. I don't think it's needed, as much as I didn't want AJ to lose, but to keep that retirement match credible. Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, it's neat to go through the different angles, as part of the stories. You could, be as far as the direction of them to where you could go.
Yeah, man. Well, there we go. In the corner, 93, done and dusted, Tyler. We still, obviously, we'll do our predictions next week for Elimination Chamber a bit more, but I think even though we've covered quite a bit there.
Yeah, we have.
Dude, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sorry for the people watching that the camera's gone down. I don't know what's happened there, but I'm glad we can still hear you at least and still have the conversation. So at least we've got that.
No, that's fine. I apologize. I don't know what happened either. It was kind of odd, but hey, it's part of it. Sometimes when you're doing these programs, it's technology, right? Who knows?
It's technology, man. All right. Thank you very much, Tyler. This is In the Corner with BenNny Mac and Tyler. You can follow the show at In the Corner WWE on X, on Instagram, and also on YouTube. And also we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and pretty much wherever you can get a hold of a podcast, really. So if you liked what you've heard, like what you've seen, a subscribe, a follow, a like will go a long way in helping us. And thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again soon. And Tyler, I'll see you again next week, my friend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being back next week.
To see if I succeed, to see if I believe, they're looking up to me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me.